Before I get into today's video, remember to follow me on Twitter. So my Twitter, the link is in the description below. You can also find me. My handle is @JacksonKruger. Come over, say hi, and anyways, back to your regularly scheduled video. All right, let's talk about the Washington Commanders. And you know what? I gotta give a hot take right off the start on this one. I don't hate the name Commanders. I think it's fine. I think all NFL names seem stupid when you first hear about them, and then you just get used to them. No name is going to sound cool, basically, is the way I view this. If you heard about the Green Bay Packers right now, you think that's the dumbest name ever, but we're used to it, so it seems iconic and cool. That's my mindset on names. Anyways, no one cares. Let's get into the football of it all. Let's talk about the Washington Commanders and where we're at, because they're, again, kind of a more unique team here. There's not a lot of teams that are exactly in the spot that they're at. Let's talk about where they're at in terms of free agency, who they have to re-sign, how much money they have, and what ways can they improve this season. So you see the Commanders' cap space. They have $32 million, so they have a decent amount of cap space here. And you look at the guys they have to sign. So the big one is going to be Brandon Sheriff, who, really good offensive lineman for them. Obviously, he's going to get a big payday if he hits the open market, which it seems likely that he will. So for the Commanders, what do you do here? What's your decision? Do you want to re-sign him and pay him that big amount of money? I've always kind of been of the belief, and when it comes to offensive team building, I kind of like to have just 5 quality players instead of a couple of superstars and then a couple of lower spots. But, they have quality players at every position. So losing him would be kind of a loss, but maybe you think you can replace him, or not replace him, but get a less quality player, but at cheaper, and maybe you're not losing as much value, and you can spend that somewhere else and get value there. That's an option on the table, but you could also just sign him for $17 million a year, that's what Pro Football Focus is projecting he will make in free agency. You have Tim Settle, who's projected to make about $4 million. He's a defensive lineman for them. Their defensive line was very good last year. It's been very good for a number of years now. The line play is not the issue for the Commanders. Ryan Fitzpatrick also, you could re-sign for $7 million, which that was your plan going into last year, right? He was supposed to be the starter. He played 16 snaps last year, which is obviously not what you wanted to have happen. It was just very unfortunate that this injury happened to him. So do you kind of run that back and say, listen, when we've seen him on the field, he's looked good, so maybe we just, he's not a star by any means, but he's, at least the past few years, has been a quality mid-tier quarterback that we can get for $7 million. Maybe we make that decision again, and improving at the quarterback position could be enough to make this team better, although I do think that they might look for more of a long-term solution there. But I'd at least re-sign him, as you maybe also look for that long-term solution. I think, re-signing Fitzpatrick and also drafting a guy, that makes sense to me. He's 39, but listen, quarterbacks play a while now. You have Cornelius Lucas here, who, you could keep if you want to. You also do, you added Charles Leno Jr. and Samuel Cosmi, so maybe you're good. That's an option. You don't necessarily need another tackle here, but, for $3 million, that's not a ton of money. And same thing with J.D. McKissick. It's okay, listen, I'm not going to freak out over certain halfbacks. Losing a halfback is no big deal. You have Antonio Gibson, who's solid, whatever. But, for $3 million, you could do worse, I would say. So they need $34 million if they wanted to re-sign everyone above, which would mean they'd have to clear $2 million. I put the 2 on the wrong side of the dollar sign because I am stupid. As for players they could cut, just a couple of key names, I don't know if you want to make either of these decisions. I'm just saying these are the options on the table. You could get rid of Landon Collins. A lot of people don't like that style of player. They feel it doesn't have a great place in the NFL. I feel if done correctly, it can have a place. I'm not sure if the Ron Rivera stuff, I just don't know if it's the best fit, quite frankly. So maybe you trade him to a team that can try to use him properly, and then you could clear $6 million. That's an option on the table. Also, Eric Flowers would save $10 million. I'd rather just have Eric Flowers personally. Again, like I said, offensive line was good last year. I don't think that you want to mess with it too much personally. And you could get rid of Taylor Heineke. For example, if you do re-sign Ryan Fitzpatrick and you also draft a quarterback, do you want to have a third quarterback on the roster, or do you want to save that $2 million? Well, they might just say Taylor Heineke, let's just keep him. Why not? $2 million isn't much, but again, an option on the table. Personally, I think I keep all those guys, or maybe look for a trade for Collins. Now let's go over here. This is always an important aspect of these videos, is what happened last year. So this is PFF's overall grade where they ranked in each positional category. So they were the 27th ranked passing attack according to PFF, which checks out. Like, Heineke, again, wasn't a complete mess, but, low-end starter kind of feels right with him. Offensive line was good, so you have that. That's fine. And the issue is really the receiving core, which is really, in large part, I thought it could have been really good heading into the season, just didn't work out that way. Like, Terry McLaurin is obviously great. That checked out. Good work. Curtis Samuel, just wasn't on the field, and he was supposed to be a key impact player for them. And then kind of even the depth guys, like Adam Humphries and Dimey Brown, who I thought could be good depth guys for them, didn't really do that much. So, again, for a guy like Brown, rookie player, didn't get a ton of playing time. Who knows how many first-team snaps he got or reps he got in practice. So, not concerned about that too much, but could maybe use another guy in the room, but also could use a healthy Curtis Samuel on top of that. As for defense, it was weird. We're like, listen, their front seven was still very good, so that's great, but if you can't cover, it doesn't really matter. They couldn't cover last year, and they were so good at covering 2 years ago. Some people have speculated maybe they weren't actually that great, and just the bad quarterbacks they played couldn't take advantage. I don't know if that's true. It's a possibility, maybe. But it was weird because, you add William Jackson, who I think we all thought, okay, well, you're getting better here. Like, you lost Roby, sure, but you're getting a better corner here. But again, kind of a fit thing. You're kind of putting a square peg into a round hole a little bit. He's always kind of been more of like a man-type corner, who now you're trying to put in this zone system. That might have been the issue right there. Kendall Fuller was great last year. Kendall Fuller is very good. Like Kendall Fuller, he's a good player, but maybe you could use that second corner. Maybe you just, again, is William Jackson on the trade market to try to find a better fit? Or maybe you just trust that he'll figure it out in year 2 in this system. Maybe it just takes him a year. If that's the case, well, then this defense could really jump back and be a great defense next year. So linebackers also didn't cover great, but they got better towards the end of the season. So that's kind of the hope, is that they continue to grow, and maybe as some of these guys get into their second year in the system, they just get better at it. So yeah, as a whole for the Commanders, again, it's interesting because kind of where they're at a little bit is it does come down to the quarterback position as well. I think that the coverage can be better. I think that I still trust William Jackson's abilities, and I think that there's a way to make this defense work. It's just weird. They don't have all, they like I said, they're putting some square pegs into round holes a little bit, and it's not working out the way they exactly want it to, but there's still ways to make that work, and you can make moves in free agency too. Like, maybe you don't get rid of William Jackson, but you just say, okay, who's a flyer we can sign for $4 million that's like a solid zone corner. So if this William Jackson thing doesn't, the marriage isn't perfect, we can just make him a slot corner, which it's a waste of him, but at least he has talent, and then we'll figure out what to do with him next offseason. Like, something like that. That's maybe the option, is you just go with a backup plan in the cornerback room. And then for the passing game, maybe you just draft a guy. Maybe that's what it is. And maybe those 2 moves, and then it's get a receiver in the second round, and boom. If you hit on all 3 of those moves, you're a playoff team. So this team isn't that far away. I actually think that they might be closer than some people realize, because again, they made the playoffs 2 years ago. Granted, a 7-9 playoff team, which also meant that they got to play, 6 games in a very weak division, but still, you did make the playoffs, and there is some hope for this football team, but you do have some work to do as well, and that's kind of the other aspect. So that's what I think about the Washington Commanders. Doesn't exactly roll off the tongue, Commanders. I'll give you that. Also, the how did you miss that? Of course it's going to be shortened to commies. How did you miss that? I don't know. But again, Commanders. I'm going to stand a name. I stand with the Commanders as a name. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.